G'day, Rob Robson from Western 4-Wheel Driver magazine. We've been lucky enough to get hold of a brand new Land Rover Discovery 5 HSC, top of the range, 3 litre turbo diesel, 8-speed automatic, full suspension, new monocoque chassis. So we're here in Lancelin, which is about 90k north of Perth, and we've driven up from Perth this morning. And we're going to give it a bit of a go in the sand dunes and just see how it performs. Okay, let's get a little bit of air out of these tyres so we can have a bit of a play in the sand dunes. What we're trying to do is increase the footprint of the tyre. So these tyres came out at around about 35 psi, so we'll go down to about 20 psi for starters and see how we go with that. When I read that the new Disco was running a 19-inch rim, I was fairly concerned that the tyre was going to be quite a low profile, and we wouldn't be able to let as much air out of the tyre and get a good footprint that we would want to. But what we've found here is we've let the tyres down to about 20 psi, and I would estimate that there's a good 1/3 improvement in the length of the tread. So that should be really good for getting out in the sand. Well, here we are in the Lancelin sand dunes in the Disco 5, and we've spent the afternoon having a bit of a drive around and seeing what the Discovery 5 will do. And to be perfectly honest, it's been an absolute joy. It's a very, very capable vehicle. The airbag suspension irons out the corrugations, makes it a very smooth and comfortable ride, and the terrain response, selecting the sand mode and turning the traction control off. And you could throw it at any of these sand dunes and pretty well guarantee to get up them. It inspires that amount of confidence. So in the sand, the Disco 5 is very, very impressive. The standout feature of this vehicle is an amazingly quiet, comfortable and refined ride. The cruise up to Lancelin highlighted just how good a tour of the Disco 5 could be. Off-road, the air suspension soaks everything up. Below the large dial for gear selection sits the smaller dial for terrain response settings. Intuitively laid out, switching the dial to sand mode, it will adjust the ride height and change the shift pattern, probably altering a whole lot more settings through some complicated algorithm. The usual trick with traction control applies. Switch it off when you hit the sand and you'll go much further. The HSE model we are testing is second down from the top of the line HSE Luxury. Under the bonnet is a 3 litre V6 turbo diesel. She's no fire breather, but certainly more than adequate. Back in Perth with the disco on the hoist, I'm impressed by the design of the undercarriage. Everything is extremely well tucked up and protected by steel bash plates, everywhere from steering rack to the fuel tank. No wires or brake lines are to be seen where they may be damaged. Well, we've spent a little bit of time with the new Land Rover Discovery 5. Another week would be really good, but we do have to get it back to Barbagallows. It's been a bit of a mixed bag. We had it up in the dunes in Lancelin and it performed admirably in the on the sand dunes and really couldn't fault it. But later in the day we did have a couple of issues in really soft sand, but all in all this vehicle is just loaded with technology, and fair dinkum, your best friend's going to be this the owner's manual. You'll be referring to it every 5 minutes to get the best out of the vehicle. As a tourer, I think it'd be absolutely fantastic. The new monocoque chassis and the refinement and technology in the vehicle is just superb, and for racing around the paddock or taking it up to Broome, it'd be just ideal.